Banana slam jam.
Hello, it's BSJ, and this is going to be a 4.4k Jugg replay. He said he climbed mostly playing support, so my core is not as good. That is his comments on the game. We'll see what happens. Starting items are fine. Obviously a bit of a bug since I rerun this replay. Tiny is carrying a tree. You kind of have to think about the opponent's damage with your spinning. It's like if their main damage is like a wyvern or something, then obviously you can spin onto the creep onto the rune, excuse me. But against Tiny with a tree and Weaver, they're just going to hit you. Spin does literally nothing. So walking up to the rune to spin it is just lack of awareness of the enemy team's types of damage. Learning what carries can walk to what runes and stuff is really important. Always be thinking about it. What kind of damage am I going to be taking? How much will I likely take for the damage in the rune? And go from there. I think it's important to note that if Tiny's carrying his tree, he will be slower than you. If he's not carrying his tree, he's faster than you. So behave accordingly. It's important to know that kind of stuff, especially on Jugg when you have an ability like Spin. That's all about chasing people down. Could have just saved some time with how much you were chasing there. Could have definitely dragged creep aggro on that last melee creep to make it so Tiny couldn't deny it. Get in the habit of quelling blading trees when there's a creep in the middle of them. It's a habit that once you start doing it, you always do it. But you didn't do it. You weren't ready to do it there. Obviously a tad bit of a rough start. Instead of a salve, you can always consider a mango. It's cheaper. On Jugg, you can use it as a healing ward. It's effectively a salve. Also give you some HP regen. I think salves on Jugg are just generally bad. You can always look to level healing ward level 3 if you absolutely need to. No reason not to if you are having health sustain issues. You can afford to save yourself gold. This is definitely a spin. Good job. Tell your support to pull here. Really important if they can. I like your auto attack denying here. That's good. This is an example where you know two creeps are going to die right in a row. So you should start positioning for the second creep. That's how you need to think about it. It's a little habit you can get into. So like if you want to kill this one first, on the left here, you should kill it from right here so that you can turn around and hit this one. If you want to kill this one first, you should kill it from right here, so you can turn around and kill that one. Notice how the reason why you missed the second one is due to travel time. Like, you kill the first one, and then you have to walk over to kill the second one. Even if you couldn't have gotten it, your chances would go way up of getting it if you did do that. And it's a good habit to get into. Creep aggro usage is not terrible. Say it's like above average. Could be better, though. As I've already mentioned a few times, it could have been better. I think going for the salve instead of just getting a full wand and the mango is bad. Obviously, if you're seeing it play out, you just don't really want to use your salve as Jugg. It doesn't feel good. You're fighting them a lot, which doesn't feel good. You do get the kill on Weaver, which is nice. You get a rotation from your Lina. Okay, big kills there. Big kills. By the full wand. Your courier died, though. Unfortunate. If you're not utilizing the healing ward, you should definitely send it away so that your creeps do not get healed by it. So when they come back, you have to think about what they're going to do, right? You have to think, you know, what's the lane going to look like? Do I want to continue contesting it? Is like the status quo of the lane good for me? And I think you've realized at this point that if the two enemy heroes are alive, you don't actually want to be in this lane. I think you can recognize that. Like, you're not getting all that many CS if the other two heroes are here. So generally what that means for me is I like to push out the wave when they're dead and then go pull the small camp immediately. If I can't pull the small camp quite yet, maybe I'll look to pull the large camp, meaning like I don't have enough time to make it over the small camp. The biggest thing about it is when this Tiny comes back, you don't want it. You, like, the way I look at it is as a carry or a core in any lane, when the opponent comes back, what does that mean? It's like, if I represent a ton of kill threat and the other guy can't walk up, then by all means, if I'm mid lane, I keep it on my hill. If I'm a carry, I keep it near my tower. If the other guy respawning either represents kill threat on me or he's a hero that I don't exactly want to lane against normally, then I have to kill as many creeps as possible. It's kind of like, if they're preventing me from doing something while they're alive, I need to make sure I do that when they're dead. If there's something I can do to them once they're alive, I need to set my lane up in order to make use of that strength. So thinking about it that way, if you watch my coaching sessions and my replay analysis on YouTube, you guys will hear me just harp and harp on people for what they do when the opponent is dead. It makes it so you clearly are not thinking, or you clearly do not understand what that opponent's hero does to you. That's the major emphasis. If you understand what the opponent hero does to you, meaning what they are stopping you from doing by being alive, you would demonstrate what they are stopping you from doing by doing it while they are dead. Simply put, if the enemy hero stops you from pushing the tower, and you don't do it while they're dead, you clearly don't understand that they're stopping you from doing that. If the opponent limits your farm, and you are not just killing all the creeps as fast as you possibly can while they are dead, you clearly are not thinking or understand that. That's if the enemy hero is highly threatened by you, and when you kill them, you don't try to restore lane equilibrium, or try to dive the tower, one of the two. Anything in between is just bad. You clearly do not understand that. So all I'm telling you to do is, when you get kills, please think about what the opponent's hero does to you when they come back, and what you want the lane to exactly look like when they come back. It's a big deal. Like, are you enjoying this? Are you enjoying there being creep camps against each other, or like creep waves against each other where you're farming against them? Like, yeah, you were level 5 to Tiny's level 3, but is it really efficient for you to lane against these guys head on? I understand you're ahead, and what that means for you in certain matchups is you can just shove the lane and like pull camps, right? And just avoid them until you hit that power spike of your level 6, and then you can look to kill them. Jugg is not usually a hero that likes to just static lane against people. He doesn't usually like that. And paying attention to these trends of like certain carries and how they like to lane is really important. It always comes down to this around like the 5 to 8 minute mark period, where you usually haven't quite hit your power spike yet, but you're still decently strong. So it's like, are you strong when you're laning against them heads up? Are you strong because you can shove the lane and then just leave and they can't really gank you and kill you? And you can just farm the wave as well as the jungle. It's like, if they only bring one hero here, by all means, you're level's 5 Jugg and he was a level 3 Tiny. Fuck him up. Like, if Weaver shows top, like, the reason why I'm telling you not to contest the lane directly is because there's 2 heroes and you don't want that. So if I tell you not to contest the lane directly because there's 2 heroes and you've come to learn this yourself, then you should immediately look to run at the Tiny the second the Weaver leaves. And when I'm in my games and I tell my team the opponent can't be getting away with this, and what it usually is where my Jugg didn't want to lane anymore because the Tiny and the Weaver were pressuring him, and then the Weaver rotates top and the Jugg proceeds to just not go back to his lane. Because what's happening is the Weaver is effectively making a move to shut down top lane, and your carry is still getting pressured effectively. Like, because the Weaver's presence is effectively bottom, right? So, like, let them sit here as 2 heroes. You're going to clear the wave. You're going to get jungle camps. Think about it this way. Your team's playing the rest of the map 4v3. And as long as you're getting something on the map, it's just fine. Like, right? So, it's all about what heroes are doing to you and why. And, like, what them leaving, what them dying represents to you. There's no reason for you to just continuously directly lane against these guys. It's a very common trend in support players, and a very common trend in like 2 to 3k carry players, where they just keep the lane as is, and they just kind of accept it. They're like, they're in my lane, whatever, they'll leave eventually. It's like, no, make them want to leave. So you finally leave the lane. It's better late than never. I would say Glove of Haste is way better than Belt of Strength. Huge deal there. You're just jungling. I would not pull this camp. I would just farm it. I would never buy tangos here. You have clarities and mangoes to buy when you have healing ward. Never buy tangos this late on in the lane, I'd say. You know what? I don't want to say never. Odds are you shouldn't really invest in that much health regen, as Juggernaut specifically. So obviously a bit unfortunate that there was an Invis Lion here. Can't really plan for that. But the minute they go on you, your reaction should not be to turn and go on them. I guess I'm glad you're trying to be aggressive. But Juggernaut just doesn't function well by getting gone on and, like, turning. Like, that is not what Juggernaut does well. Jugg does well by, like, running at them and starting the fight himself. So usually if I get gone on a hero like Jugg, I spend my time running away. Unless I have, like, teammates to back me up. So luckily you don't have a TP, so you can't actually TP back to bottom lane. I definitely would just walk top at this point. Your lane bottom is pretty much over. Jugg pretty much always, just like PL, pretty much like most other carries, migrates to the top half of the map sometime around now. Why aren't you just hitting jungle creeps? There's no tower to defend here. There's no purpose of what you're doing here. The only reason you lane is it creates pressure or it gives you more farm or you're relieving pressure. Those are like the 3 reasons. Is this doing any of that? Is this doing any of that? The answer is no. Hit some jungle creeps. You're playing, like, way too selfless right now. You need to get your items. Stop being a useless piece of crap carry, you know what I mean? Right now, you are useless. You don't have ult. You're against Pugna. Just get out of this lane. Like, what are you doing here? Let your support take the dangerous farm. The reason why I get mad when carries are jungling is because there is a lane they can take, there is a place they can create pressure, or there is a place they can survivably play that nobody else can survivably play, and then they're jungling. But that wasn't the case here. You just walked into a lane and died. I told you it was bad. Shocker, you died, 15 seconds later. Something you should think about. You should never TP to this lane, I think. That's a little scary. But I guess, like, if your team's forcing the issue top, then that's fine. I think you're not spinning enough at all to farm. Part of the reason why you buy treads on Jugg is that you can make your spin cost effectively, like, 30% less mana and use it to spam on farming. Like, right now, why aren't you just spinning the wave and pushing it out? Why are you spending so much time against this Tiny? Why are you content static laning against a hero that doesn't farm as efficiently as you do, and he represents kill threat on you, but you don't represent kill threat on him? All of these reasons are why you should not be statically laning against this guy. Stop statically laning against heroes you don't want to lane against. Stop it! I know you're a support player, but this is a very important concept to learn if you're going to play carry. Recognize what heroes you want to statically lane against. If you don't want to statically lane against them, you can either look to take it under your tower, or on Juggernaut specifically, you can look to just spin the creep wave down if you think that's, like, you're not going to die doing that. Last thing you should do, though, is just spend as much time as you are. You haven't spun at all. You have 2 clarities. You're sitting on full mana. I'm talking, like, a lot of inefficiencies right now. Why not just walk up to this, spend the creep wave, and leave? Why are you TPing? Spend the creep wave and leave. Why do you go bottom in the first place? To relieve pressure, right? That's why you're bottom. Obviously, they've come to pressure you. Very expected. Play your hero to its limits. Spend the creep wave and leave. If they had, like, a wyvern or something that could cancel spin TP, sure, don't do that. But you just need to walk up to that wave and spin and TP away. So what if you take a shit ton of damage? You can just healing ward and go hit some creeps in the meantime, right? You're not going to die. Now your tower bottom's just going to die. It's not like your tower wouldn't have died otherwise, but it takes the enemy team way longer because you cut a creep wave and killed it. So it takes them either 30 seconds longer, maybe they have to start tanking creeps, whatever. Play your hero to the limit. I understand you won't know your hero's limits all that great because you are a support player moving to carry, and that's fine. Why are you so insistent upon fighting? You're against Troll Warlord, Weaver, and Pugna. And Tiny with like a bajillion armor. I need you to think, what does Jugg do as a hero? Does this function well in a game like this? This is a game where your hero effectively cannot fight until like 1 or 2 big items. And all you are at this stage in the game is pretty much an Omni Slash. But at the same time, do any of their heroes actually kill you? The answer is no, right? If you have spin available and you're not just a potato and get stunned by Lion with 2 other heroes around, you're not going to die. So what that means is you need to watch the Miracle replay on my YouTube. And obviously, if you're watching this, the majority of you are already on my YouTube. Miracle was in a very similar game as Jugg, and watch how he plays the game compared to you. Every time there's a lane he doesn't want to go in, he spins it down, or he waits till it pushes in. Every time there's a fight going on, he's pressuring somewhere else. He prioritizes movement speed in a game like this, because it's all about avoiding the opponent, right? Like, that's what you're trying to do. And he actually went Radiance in a very similar game. And I think Radiance this game is completely reasonable because you have Void, Lycan, 2 physical damage cores, and otherwise you're all countered by Decrep, other than your supports. So I think Radiance is honestly completely reasonable this game. But why the fuck are you here? Like, I could have told you ahead of time, you're literally going to do nothing here. Like, you are literally going to do nothing. Why are you not pushing top, forcing one of them to TP? Maybe then you can look. I can only say about this subject, watch the Miracle replay. Just watch. There's no better explanation than just seeing it, what I'm saying, come to life. At, like, the most perfect play, right? Like, Miracle does it amazingly well. I know you're new to the role, but just try to think about what heroes do. It's hard, right? And it's something where you're not going to learn it instantly. It's understandable that it's going to be a learning process for you.
Only reason I broke my streak is Twitch randomly subbed me to random people. Never again, BSJ.
Understandable, dude. But yeah, so it's super important that you think about your hero's type of damage and what they're going to do in fights. Like, if you're going to show up to fights, who are you going to spin? When are you going to spin? Who are you going to Omni-Slash? And if you can't come up with something, don't be there, right? Like, why would you? Like, if you can't come up with a way to play the fight, you think you're going to figure it out mid-fight? That ain't fucking happening. I make this mistake all the time, too. You know? It's not something that ever goes away, really, but if you think about it and you start to learn, you'll make more and more good decisions. I haven't seen you spin a creep wave to be efficient a single time. The only reason to hold spin is you're scared of running out of mana, or you're scared of, like, dying once you come out of it. So other than that, you should be spamming spin to farm. It farms way faster than your right clicks. Like, right now, I'd spin this and then go do the big camp. God, it hurts to see you just right-click creeps. I guess you have a double damage, which is a bit different. I don't mind this TP, but even then, I don't know if I would be here. You get a kill, though. I never liked TPing to my own safe lane, but since they brought 4 heroes top, I think that move is fine. I feel like walking could have maybe done the same job. So they had 4 heroes top, and you just killed their only hero bottom. Does anybody in chat know what I'm going to yell at you for? Why are you not fucking hitting bottom? Jesus, right? Like, earlier I told you, why are you in this lane? There's no lane for you to be in, so hit jungle creeps. Right now, why are you not hitting bottom? Clearly it's a lane you should be in, right? Clearly. There's 4 heroes top and you killed the one guy bottom. I call it the dead lane, but it's only a dead lane majority of the time. The whole idea is that you understand that area is dangerous and then recognizing the times that it's not. Right now, it's not. So if you don't go farm it right now, when are you going to farm it? When it's at your tier 2? That sucks, because that means one of your heroes is going to have to go farm it then, which means you can't be doing something like 20 seconds from now. But if you go clear that wave, what that means is that's an extra 30 seconds that none of your teammates have to go bottom. It's extra farm for you. It gives you information because one of their heroes is going to have to go bottom and push it. There's so many benefits to pushing lanes that are safe to push. So your lane understanding is terrible, which is understandable. You're not, you're new to the core role. Absolutely terrible laning understanding. And so start thinking about the map that way. And every time you're going to jungle, think about what lane to go to. Every time you think about going to the lane, think about, like, will this be good? And if you think it's good and you go there, like in the mid lane, and it sucks, maybe ask yourself, what were you missing? Maybe it was a hero matchup. Maybe it was, like, some opponent on the enemy team that was missing, and you didn't think, like, oh, he was a huge threat to me. Like, whatever, you know? But your idea of when to show on lane and when to farm lanes is, like, really off. I would prefer the net myself over Poor Man's Shield. It's mana regen, it's all stats. You did go back for Battle Fury. I don't, like, hate it. It's, like, the similar idea to Radiance, but I think Radiance was actually better this game. Just because you're against high armor hero like Troll and Tiny, and Weaver you can't really Omni-Slash, and then you're against Decrep on Pugna. And you have 2 physical damage cores. So I actually think that Radiance would have been better this game. You're not really going to burst anyone on their team. So there's no point in itemizing to, like, do physical damage, if possible. There's two options. You're either not going to burst them and you're not burstable, which in that case means, like, you're going to go, like, Manta Diffusal, because, like, you'll wear them down and win the attrition battle. Or you're not going to be able to burst them and they can burst you, in which case you go for the Radiance, right? And I think you are very afraid of their heroes being able to burst you in fights, right? They have Lion, they have Pugna, Tiny, very burst-heavy heroes. I think this decision's reasonable, bit little too late. Why didn't you start this at 12 minutes? Why were you trying to fight earlier on in the game? This is exactly what you could have done earlier. I think you panic TP'd there. Why not just walk away? And then if you forced another hero to come, then you spend TP, right? Like, why not just walk away and see what happens? Because now, if that Pugna just runs back towards mid, you've lost, like, all map control. Because if it's only Pugna that TP top, then you've lost a lot of map control by immediately TPing. So not only do you need to force reactions like you just did there, you also needed to start at this at, like, 12 minutes. But you also need to not overreact. I've talked about this in other coaching sessions, other replay analysis. Just don't overreact, right? Think about, if I'm going to play top by default, which is like what you're supposed to do, how many heroes and what heroes required to boot me out of top? Because if it takes any less heroes to boot you out of top, you're surrendering map control, right? That's what you're doing. Because now your entire team is sitting underneath your tier 2, and it's like super awkward to go from here. But like, say you sat top and just walked away, or say you forced 3 heroes to TP top, suddenly, like, that's really telegraphed what the opponent's going to do now, because they just TP 3 heroes top, and they have to, like, run mid or something as 3 heroes. In that case, you can force the mid lane, and then you can run bottom, because it's safe to go there now. But, or, if you only force 1 hero there, and then Pugna does exactly what I said, where he tries to walk back to mid, then you can just stay top and keep farming it, and then somebody else on their team's then going to have to go there. See what I'm saying? The important thing is think about what it takes to push you out of top. And don't just leave for don't leave for anything less. Try to be very specific to yourself. Very specific. Because if you're very specific about it, and something less than that happens, say you're like, I think it needs to be Pugna, Lion, and Troll, but then Pugna, Lion kill you. And you'll be like, I guess if Pugna's within range of me and Lion gets his Hex off, that's enough. And then you'll behave differently next time, right? But try to be very specific to yourself. Because that means if you're wrong, you can adjust it slightly, and you'll maybe be right next time. The whole idea is making that educated guess about what. Not like, it's like, see this map control for you guys? It's just super fucking awkward. For like the next 2 minutes because of what you did top. It's like, you guys smoke and the Pugna just solo contests you and dies, so that was nice of him. But your move was really telegraphed because of top, but hey, you guys end up winning a fight because they walked nice. I think it was fine that you guys smoked. The reason why it's good to smoke in this case is because, like I told you, it's really fucking awkward on the map, and you kind of just have to. But the only reason it was awkward is because you made it that way. I think the smoke could have happened the same way with top lane being potentially pressured, or you guys forcing 3 heroes top and then doing this play. I think it could have been the exact same thing with more odds of working. But I think your team smoking here was still good because it was super awkward for you guys to do anything because you TP'd away from top. So you get mid tower, that's good. You already got Roche. I've talked about the natural progression of Dota. You guys should almost always take tier 2 top next. Almost always. It's either tier 2 top or tier 1 bottom. If your team wants to play around tier 1 bottom, which I think is reasonable right now, because of the fact that you guys have 2 wards in that area, that's what you should do. I can only tell you for now, learn this basic understanding. You can worry about more understanding later. You're either taking tier 2 bottom right now or tier 2 top first. If one of those is gone, you can consider tier 2 mid as your secondary option. But that's just the way the map should be played. It's almost always better that way. Tier 2 tower mid doesn't really do much for how hard it is to get. And so since you don't have your ult, if you want to play around top for a bit, you can tell your team that, like, hey guys, I'm going to come bottom in a bit, but let's wait for ults. That's fine too. Just knowing what your next objective is after you take Roche is pretty important. I think you taking bounty runes here is absolutely fine. But obviously your team is not on the same page as you. So you're forced to TP bottom earlier than you would like. You don't have ult yet. So you're pretty useless. I probably wouldn't have TP'd here, to be honest with you. Once again, asking myself what I'm going to do for this fight, and the answer is pretty much nothing. I think the Ags is pretty questionable. I guess I could think of worse items, but at the same time, like, if your Omni Slash isn't very good, I can't really imagine your Ags being very good either. It's not a terrible item, I guess, but I think, like, you know, Sanj and Yasha into Bash or Shadow Blade or something could have been better. Manta's even fine against Pugna, Troll, and Weaver. BSJ, why is Manta good against Weaver? Because it kills the bugs. You get bugged as Jugg, it's still annoying, even though you have fast attack speed. Okay. This is why Radiance would be good. At this point in the game, doesn't it just feel really awkward for you to ever fight? You just don't do anything as your hero. I think, like, Radiance Manta into even Ghost Scepter is worth considering. Yeah, I think you're here. I think you're feeling the problem with your build, right? Your hero just does nothing in fights. And at 28 minutes in the game, you can't itemize to do absolutely nothing in fights. Absolutely nothing is not acceptable when you have 2 major items. So that's just poor vision of what the game's going to play out as. Looking at the opponent heroes and saying, high armor, decrep, can't Omni Slash, instant stun, right? Like, none of these heroes feel good to just walk up and Omni Slash. So your build says that's what you're going to plan to do, and obviously it will not work. So it's good enough for me on that replay analysis. Hope you guys enjoyed that.